Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another candidate live stream with the New Jersey Libertarian Party. I'm Lana Leguía. I'm running in District 24, and I have the Kaplan here, who's running for governor of New Jersey as well. And Bruno and Dustin had other events today and couldn't make it, but occasionally they join our live stream as well, the other Libertarian candidates in the party. We started a little bit late today. That's okay. We're both having technical difficulties. So if I disappear, just take it over, Vic.
Sure.
Rant about something because my internet is just a mess today for some reason. And I also can't make phone calls on my phone, which is weird. Anyway, so how have you been? I know we spoke yesterday, so
sure.
I assume still fine.
Sure, I've been fine, thank you. Yes, I've been doing fine, thank you. How have you been doing?
Good. So you want to talk about some federal things, some news from a federal level.
Well, also on the New Jersey level, there is a college professor. I guess we can talk about that him as well, who has been decided to leave the United States.
If you like. Oh yes, I actually I did read about him. Yeah, we can talk about that as well. Yeah. So wherever you want to start, where do you want to start?
I guess I'd like to start with the college professor, if that is okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I read that. I know the kind of basic details that he's a professor that's specializes in anarchism and some other kind of like ideologies like that, and he's receiving threats. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, Mark Bray, the college professor. He decided to leave the country because of the threats he did receive. This is after, of course, he wrote a book on Antifa, and that apparently has been enough to get a whole lot of people riled up. Now, I certainly believe in the First Amendment right of free speech. Writing a book about Antifa is not a crime. But because of the threats that he's been receiving from a number of people, he has decided that he no longer can be safe and that he needs to leave the United States because of all the harassments and threats he's been receiving. I just think that's extremely unnerving. So he actually has been receiving threats after he commented on President Trump's executive order in September, which designated Antifa as the domestic letter T organization. And so there was a challenge from a number of activists that targeted Bray on the internet. And there was a petition that was started to fire him, which alleged that his writings and lectures, they promote political violence. And also, so what ended up happening in the end is because of these threats against him, that he decided that he could no longer be safe and he in the United States. So he decided to leave the United States. So his classes from this point on will be on Zoom. So that's pretty much the gist of it. I just want to say that, yeah, I completely disagree with the idea that, someone's free speech should be targeted. That anyone should be targeted for harassment just because he wrote a book about Antifa. I mean, to me, that's just unconscionable. I mean, people have a right to write books about any subject. And actually, I was actually listening to the radio this afternoon, and Rita Cosby and other people just attacked him. Like, why was he even hired as a professor at Rutgers? I mean, he wrote a book about Antifa, as though that itself is a crime. Like he should not have been employed by Rutgers because he wrote a book about Antifa. I really don't get that. Like, I don't understand. Why would, I mean, he has a right to write a book about Antifa. Like, I don't. So go ahead.
Well, this is the problem of labeling anything a terrorist organization without something to back it up, especially something as vague as Antifa, when it's not an organized group, right? It doesn't have a centralized level of authority or anything. So when you label something like that a terrorist organization, anything associated with that is going to be considered to be terrorized sympathizer or illegal, or I mean, this is what everyone was warning everyone about when Trump made that decision, that executive order to make Antifa a terrorist organization. And it's unfortunate for this person because he does have First Amendment rights. And especially as a professor, he has or should have the ability to talk about things, even things that are actually terrorist organizations or historical events that have happened, or even comparing them to the current events. Like, as a professor, he has that kind of space to do that more so than anybody else. But on top of that, writing a book about an ideology or a movement absolutely shouldn't be illegal, and he shouldn't be receiving threats over it. And it's sad that he's leaving the country over it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think this is insane. I think, and this is something we've seen for the unfortunately, actually on both sides for years, right? That if you have a college professor and that there are people who don't agree with that person's views, so depending on the ideology of the professor, you have the professor being targeted, by people who are associated kind of with one side or the other. But I just think that's ridiculous, because for years in the past, of course, professors generally have the academic freedom to express their own opinions. And I remember the time period when this wasn't, I mean, it wasn't not controversial. I mean, you had professors saying things that, they had freedom of speech. And this is, of course, different from public schools, but it was long believed that at a college level there is academic freedom, and professors, the whole idea that colleges were going to be the kind of the market of ideas, and that was the whole purpose of, well, not the whole purpose, but one of the purposes of college was to be the kind of a marketplace of ideas where people can share their opinions and share their beliefs, so without being sort of attacked, and certainly not having any kind of outside groups trying to remove the professor from having opinions that they disagree with. I mean, that just runs totally counter to the idea of academic freedom that for many generations had been promoted on college campuses. So the college campuses should be the bastions of free speech. I just find the in the recent decades, the decade or so, these attacks on college professors to be totally unconscionable, because, like I said, the idea of academic freedom has been a long-standing idea on college campuses.
It's also upsetting, I guess, and also ironic that I'm guessing that we don't know who's making these threats, but I would probably bet money that it's a group of people or individuals that were upset at what happened to Charlie Kirk and claim to believe in the First Amendment and freedom of speech, and also freedom of assembly, by the way. Yet they're cheering on, these protesters in frog suits and dinosaur suits, whatever, dancing around, protesting, getting shot at and aggressed upon, and all these things. They're cheering this on, even though they claim to be supporters of free speech.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's very unfortunate that this has been happening. The whole idea that I do remember that when I was listening to the radio. I mean, when Rudy Giuliani was just basically telling people on the radio that, if you ever hear a college professor, you disagree with that person's views, please report that professor. It's almost like being like a rat. Like if you find something to disagree with, like that a professor said, make sure record it, and let us know. Like, what I don't. This is completely ridiculous. Like what college professors, and this was years ago, and I remember listening to this. Like, what's all this thing about being like rats and trying to like target professors because they have a different political opinion. Like I really don't get that. So yeah, I'm totally against that. I think it's unconscionable what's been going on, and this has been happening on both sides. There have been professors that have been harassed who had different opinion. Like, look, I do not agree with Charles Murray's views on IQ. Completely don't agree with that. But then there was one point when he was attacked for his views, and there was a scuffle. I believe it was a college in Vermont where this occurred. And I believe that people can disagree with other people's views, but there's no need to actually physically attack anyone. And so I think that's important. Look, I think the best way to oppose somebody's political views and to show that they have disdain for, well, disagreeing with their political views, is to give the microphone to those people. I mean, this is what in the 80s and 90s, a number of people did on television when they would interview KKK. They figured that the best way to sort of a deal with the KKK was to give them the microphone and tell them what they want to say instead of banning them. So then the KKK, for example, could use that as an excuse to say, well, see, like we're being censored for our ideas, for our points of view, and that of course would have given them the platform to say that, look, our ideas are so great, other people are afraid of us, they're afraid of our ideas, that's why they don't want to invite us. The reporters took a totally different route. They decided to give them ideas. They decided to give them the microphone, and that was the best way, in my opinion, to deal with them. The best way to deal with them was to give them coverage. Let the public know what their views are, and if a lot of people would find their views to be disgusting and disdainful, then that would be the result, as opposed to all these different groups like the KKK using the fact that they're being banned or not being allowed to be on television as a way to say, well, you see the establishment, right? The people, the powers that be are afraid of us because of our ideas and because we're a threat to the powers that be, and kind of using these bans as a way to promote their organizations. So I think the best way to deal with people that other people disagree with them is definitely give them the microphone, and if they disagree, well, then that's fine. But the idea of banning any type of group just because somebody disagrees with their ideas, I think actually has the reverse effect of promoting those organizations, because then they can use that to portray themselves as victims.
Sorry for disappearing for a second. Like I said earlier, my internet is absolutely terrible. I got Skylink because everyone told me it was amazing, and it is not. The Antifa thing.
Yeah, no. So no, I was just saying that the best way. Yeah, so I was talking about Antifa. I was generally saying that groups like the KKK in the 80s and kind of early 90s, the way they were dealt with is that they were given the microphone to be on different shows that people would see what they're all about, instead of trying to ban them from appearing on any of the television shows, so that those groups could use that as a way to portray themselves as victims and say how wonderful their ideas are. So yeah, with regarding Antifa, so I just want to say that as far as the Antifa is concerned, so once it was declared as that type of organization, the question is really what is Antifa, right? Clearly there's no leader there. It's not a sort of anybody could be wearing a mask and calling themselves that name, and the idea that this is kind of on the same level as I don't know on some of the the groups that more dangerous, the ones that are responsible for killing hundreds and thousands of Americans, organizations of that sort, I think is totally ludicrous. I think the danger is that any group of people that could be called that name, right, that are protesting, say, well, this is them, and then what, right? People have nothing to do with it. People are just simple protesters who don't agree with the policy. It could just be labeled as that organization, and that's it, right? Then they would be dealt with as that type of an organization where all their rights could be violated. There would be no due process being followed, because after all, they're not normal people. They're not regular Americans. They're these bad guys on which the Geneva Convention and any other type of rules do not apply. They should not have any kind of civil liberties. There should be no due process. Why is it at that point not okay? Wouldn't be justified for just to lock people up just because they don't agree with the government. Just call them Antifa, and that's it. Just lock them up. Don't file any charges against them. Just hold them up indefinitely. Suspend the habeas corpus, as Stephen Miller talked about that. We're considering suspending habeas corpus, which means arresting people without any kind of charges, without any kind of warrant, without any kind of probable cause, arresting them and locking them up in prison and holding them indefinitely. And those people who were complaining about this happening, the NDAA after for years, I mean, that was one of the provisions that the president had the power to do that. So what is stopping the executive branch or the federal government to doing just that to the people they disagree with, right? Don't don't have any charges against them, just announce that they're all Antifa, and therefore the due process doesn't apply to them. They don't have to charge them with anything. They can hold them up indefinitely behind bars, right? And then, of course, if that were to happen, you're going to have all these people saying how, well, of course, they're Antifa, so of course they shouldn't have any rights. Just like they say that, right now, that apparently only citizens have rights, and which, like, what? I mean, that's the first time I'm hearing that. Certainly not in the Constitution. So, but I'm sure you would, if that were, my God forbid, if that were to happen, you would be having people justifying that. I mean, or just about anything in the world. So, I know, I definitely agree with you, Lana. I think this is extremely dangerous. When you announce a particular group to be that organization, anyone could be labeled in that and have their rights suspended.
Yes, and you mentioned that you could just label anyone Antifa, and that isn't just a guess or a theory. That is happening. I see that all the time when we have these videos of people protesting against ICE, or even yelling at them or trying to fight back. There are people saying they're Antifa, they're a terrorist, they should be arrested. That's it. Like, it is happening.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. By the way, this is very Soviet. I mean, I wouldn't have first like to know that.
Yes.
It's like, no, because that is exactly what it was under Stalin, right? He considered anybody who was like disagreeing with him as part of a plot by Leon Trotsky, and anyone who disagreed with him, well, they're all working for Trotsky. Everyone is in the plot against the government, and anyone who just said anything, disagreed with anything, was being labeled as part of this like big plot of Leon Trotsky. Replace Leon Trotsky with Antifa, and you got the same thing going on, right? It's all part of this Trotskyite plot to overthrow Stalin, and let's just label all these people who disagree on anything as part of the plot to overthrow the government. I mean, and that's what they're saying, right? Isn't that what they're saying, that Antifa is trying to overthrow? Really, Antifa is trying to overthrow our government? I mean, hello, really? These guys are trying to, like, come on. This must be some kind of a joke. But of course, they've been labeled as these baddies, right? And they're being, this is kind of a secret plan of the Democratic Party to overthrow our government. I mean, you have to be kidding me. I mean, these guys are, if people think they're a threat, I mean, come on. I think that's a total joke.
Well, I mean, to be fair, when the administration was Democratic, they were claiming other groups were terrorist organizations and they should be locked up. So it actually doesn't matter who's in office and who has power, as far as Democrat or Republican is concerned. Anyway, they're going to accuse some group that they don't like hearing from as a terrorist organization and try to do something about it. And it's because they all the things that they claim to care about, like in this current time, they care about the Constitution, they care about the First Amendment, they care about people's freedoms. But then turns out they don't believe in the Constitution, like you said. Only citizens have rights, only have due process rights. Nope, that's not what it says. Nope. And I really doubt that any of these people ever actually read anything associated with the Constitution. But that's just how it is. That's why we voting, just flipping back and forth between two powers that are going to continue to infringe on your rights and slowly chip away at freedoms.
No, absolutely, yeah, and that'll be like when you were out before, I mentioned that the professors who were considered to be. I mean, this whole thing, it's really whose axe is getting gored as far as the people that are, as far as people are being concerned. Like, because I do remember that the people who were Mike, was it Yiannopoulos? Trying to remember his first name. Now it's been years ago, right? So he was being protested by groups that were because he was a right winger. So then people who were opposed to him were protesting his presence and wanting to ban him and blah 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 blah. Like, I see this happening like on both sides. Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like either like ban certain professors, like stop them from talking, whether it's like they're supposedly conservative. Let's let's make sure they can't teach. Or if they're on the other side, let's get rid of them. Like it's been going on for years now. So yeah, it means it's all. And this is for the people who say they believe in freedom of speech. Only believe freedom of speech for themselves, but not for other people they disagree with. So that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and if I can be honest, like every day something else outrageous happens that doesn't feel real, and it's all happening very fast. And just like I don't know when that was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when Trump said ICE agents are allowed, or federal agents are allowed to open fire on protesters, and military personnel are allowed to open fire on protesters. Like, anyone who's even mildly paying attention should be really scared. And now you were telling me that they're promising a third term.
Well, there's a congressman
for Trump.
Yeah, Congressman Fine from the great state of Florida. So yeah, he said he's actually proposing a third term for President Trump. I mean, I know there's been talks of that before. This is one congressman, of course. This is not President Trump never said that he. I mean, he didn't say he wants to serve a third term. This is coming from Randy Fine, the congressman from Florida. If you recall, he was elected in that special election earlier this year, and he has been, I mean, he has said a lot of controversial things. It's been covered in the media, but this is, I guess, this is the latest one. He supports amending the Constitution and allowing, President Trump to repealing the 22nd Amendment and letting Trump to run for a third term.